Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. As always, hope that you are doing well. Welcome back to the channel as we consider number 74, 75, I can't remember, on the AFI Top 100 in the heat of the night. On the road, heading to St. Francis de Sales Catholic Church for 4 o'clock Mass. Wanted to just get this review out. Feeling a little bit behind in number-wise as far as my scheduling, so in a rush to make sure I continue with the reviews. I want to start by saying, get this out of the way here, because I'm going to be flipping around. In the Heat of the Night is an incredible film, very simple, really. Perhaps you're familiar with it. Sidney, a lot of people say his last name, Poitier. I think it's Poite, or Poite, because he's from the Bahamas, so you could hear that, Poite, you know, something like that. But Sidney Poitier, however you want to say his last name. An incredible role as Mr. Tibbs. They called me Mr. Tibbs, right? To be parodied, you know, many times over. Who comes to Sparta, Mississippi, really is just passing through, but he happens to be there on the night of a homicide. He himself, Mr. Tibbs, a homicide policeman, homicide policeman from Pittsburgh. I think so. I think it was Pittsburgh. And so, you know, he is sort of compelled. Sorry, trying to get myself stabilized here. He's compelled to help with the case, but of course he's working with, you know, a bunch of white police officers, and I'm sorry, I'm just adjusting just a little bit. He's in a white neighborhood, and he's doing all this stuff. 1967, New Hollywood, still, of course, you know, far after 1960, with, you know, equal rights being established on the government level, but a lot of remnant racism happening in the South. And there he is, Mr. Tibbs, trying to help get to the bottom of this murder, of this homicide case, but facing a lot of opposition, so much opposition from those who still held on to segregation and the spirit of racism in the South. It's definitely, this film is definitely on the AFI Top 100 for that reason, because it's one of several films on the list, on the 100, that deals with racism. I feel personally that this is an excellent representation on maybe a micro scale of racism in the South. We've already talked about Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee, and that was also a film that dealt with racist ideas, but it was in the Bronx, and you know, still very intense, but not quite as intense as what we see here, as what we see in the Heat of the Night. And so the American Film Institute is going to honor a film, of course, that deals with racism in such a serious, cutting manner. I also just love this movie and was really struck by it, no, that's not a word, because to me it was like a really, really good episode of CSI, you know, that was like 3 times as long. You know, I was thinking I could see them doing it again with like Lawrence Fishburne or something like that, you know, because he was on CSI Vegas there for a while. Really an incredible performance from Sidney and the whole cast, and the Gillespie was his name. What was the actor's name? Vegas, help me out. But the fellow who played the sheriff won an Oscar for, you know, Best Actor, Best Picture, you know, Oscar win as well. And so a tremendous film. Relevance for today, absolutely. Although I want to say, you help me out. I don't know that I've seen a movie recently that really dealt with this sort of racist behavior. Of course, the last movie I saw that had racism in it, besides In the Heat of the Night, was Django Unchained, which pretty much just makes fun of racism, even though it recognizes that it's real and that it existed, and that it was a very serious ordeal. But you know how Quentin Tarantino is. I mean, you know, he treats it just as in that very cowboy western, spaghetti western kind of spirit, you know, that it's just a vehicle for revenge, that racism is a vehicle for revenge. But here, In the Heat of the Night gives us an example of how to approach racism, not out of humor, but with a little bit of humor, a little bit of brevity to help us stomach the reality, but how to approach it in a way that represents reality and truth, consequence. Perhaps you've seen the movie and you're familiar with that famous scene in which Tibbs slaps, whatever his name is, the guy who owns a big cotton plantation. Of course, in the novel, In the Heat of the Night, this slap did not exist, but Sidney felt that that Mr. Tibbs should slap him. That it was his duty to react. It was an act of justice. If a man hits another man, that man can retaliate by hitting back. This isn't quite what Jesus said, but it's what Sidney said. And actually, it's a beautiful sentiment that he sort of wanted to honor his father in his acting, and so he thus felt that he himself should not do anything that would reflect poorly on his father, but that his father taught him, look, if you're going to be a black man, if you as a black man in this world, you have to treat yourself with this level of respect and yearn for this level of respect. Demand it. Yearn for it, demand it, and represent it in your life. So that's what we have happening in this film. And that slap is one of the historical moments of film, truly. It's a truly historic moment because it was the first time, really, in film that we had seen a black character respond in force to a white character. I mean, within reason, but in that sort of intensity and drama, it's an incredible scene. If I can find a YouTube clip of it, I'll put it in the description below. Now, the reflection, the point of spiritual reflection, as you can imagine, comes out of the plot itself. That Sidney's character and the sheriff have to work together to figure out who done it, right? And that's a theme that really is throughout the whole of the biblical narrative. Can opposites work together for good? Or can God make things that are bad or wrong work out for good? Or, looking at it another way, maybe more simply, can we, the sinful, the flesh, interact with the divine and create good through our actions? We ourselves, of course, are not good. If we had our own way, we would almost certainly choose ill or bad or sin. We would choose pleasure, okay? We would choose selfishness. Even though I know we'd like to think that we would choose good, I don't think we would. It's God's Spirit, His grace, and the atonement of Jesus Christ, the sacrifice of Christ, and of course, the outpouring of the Holy Spirit that gets into us and sort of reorders our human mechanical thinking. God, indeed, who makes us yearn for the good because of righteousness, because of holiness, because of divinity. And that's what we see here in this movie. We see what people consider to be a bad thing, a black man working with what was a culturally accepted good thing, a white policeman, a sheriff, working together for good. This is what God says, of course, in the book to the Romans, letter to the Romans, the writing of the apostle. God causes all things to work together for good. Even if we don't see that good, even if we don't understand that good for ourselves, just getting to church here, God is at work making all things to come together in a beautiful way for good. And this is especially important in our lives when we are put into situations in which we have to, work with people that we don't like, we have to do things that we don't like, we're put in situations that we don't like, whatever it is. But we remember that God orchestrates everything to come together in the perfect way in time for His own goodness. Did you see that sign? Pastor and Director of Liturgy, that's me. Can you see that? Anyway, so I get my own private parking with gotta pull in just a little bit farther and get a parking here. Anyway, that's my driving reflection for In the Heat of the Night. Really a great movie. Wow. I'm looking forward. I hope to watch it again before I have to take it back to the library. It was so good. I hope that you get a chance to watch it, okay? Please do not delay in going out and seeing this movie. It's an incredible testimony to not only how good movies were during the New Hollywood era, of course, to Sidney Poitier, but also it's an incredible example of, I hope through my rambling you hear that theme of how God can make things work together for incredible good in this world and incredible good, for each other. So I do wish you the best, of course. I thank you truly, friends, for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel if you care to. I sure appreciate the support. Appreciate everyone who stops in to watch. Here are some, I don't know where, I don't even know what the frame looks like. Somewhere in this frame, here's some videos that you can click on. Check those out. A little bit of an update on my diet. And then I'll just throw a random video up from the channel, maybe a music video or something like that. Anyway, gotta go. Mass is starting soon. Gotta get ready inside. And so thank you, friends. See you soon.